Hello everyone. Um, the last video of Barbarossa I watched was a video that he did on a group of people who he labels as conspiracy theorists. Now, had it not been for this video, I would not have made this video, which I am making now. Um, and I just wanted to say that this video is in no way an attack on Barbarossa. I still appreciate the things that he has done, the good things that I think he has, the things I consider as being the good things that he has done, I do give him credit for. But when it comes to the subject matter of what he calls conspiracy, quote-unquote, theories, he needs a lot of education. If not a lot, then at least somewhat more education on the subject, because there is a significant amount of ignorance on his part. And I've seen a similar degree of ignorance in other people in the Manosphere, who, like Barbarossa, reject conspiracy theories, including the conspiracy theories that pertain to the idea that there are elites in the world that are forming a one-world global Orwellian state, also known as the One World Government Conspiracy, also known as the New World Order Conspiracy, or NWO Conspiracy, if you want to say it in a more shorter form. In this video, I want to address my target audience, who are MGTOWs and MRAs, who don't believe that there is a nefarious agenda by the elites of the world, who are step by step gradually moving towards their plan of establishing a global Orwellian state. Now, my message to you all, including Barbarossa, is to please not lump all people who you consider to be conspiracy quote-unquote theorists into one group. Personally, I prefer the term conspiracy researcher rather than conspiracy theorist, and yes, I am one. Keep one thing in mind, is that not all conspiracy researchers believe in the same number of conspiracies. For example, David Icke is a conspiracy researcher, and he believes in the reptilian New World Order agenda, which most conspiracy theorists, most conspiracy researchers don't believe in. Likewise, not all of us would use the same line of reasoning or evidence to back up why we believe in the one world government conspiracy. For example, there are those who would use the alleged letter of Alfred Pike, where he talks about the 3 world wars are going to happen: World War I to accomplish this purpose, and World War II to accomplish that purpose. And me and another fellow MGTOW friend of mine, who's also a conspiracy researcher like me, we both don't believe in the legitimacy of this letter, and therefore won't use this as evidence to prove why people should believe in the in the conspiracy of forming a global Orwellian state, or for any conspiracy at all. But then there are conspiracy theorists who would use this as legitimate evidence, but there are conspiracy theorists like me who would not. So please don't lump us all into one single group of people. We're not all identical. There's differences, in how we approach the subject. Barbarossa mentions that, and I quote, people want to see what they want to see, and so their mind fills in the blanks, unquote. Yes, this is part of human nature, but hopefully Barbarossa would realize that the existence of such a notion does not disprove the notion that certain conspiracies exist, especially the conspiracy to form a global Orwellian state, which is what the nefarious elites of the world are working on. The next point Barbarossa touches upon is the advancement of technology and how people see this as a means to take away our rights, and how some associate this with the notion that this is associated with the elite's nefarious agenda. Well, first of all, technological advancement is an inevitable part of human existence and will happen no matter what, irrespective of whether a conspiracy to use such technological advancement exists or not. But that's not the point. You see, we do live in a world where technology is advancing to the extent that it can enable governments to use such advancement of technology to form a big brother society, but in all honesty, even that is not the point. The point is that governments plan on using such advancement of technology for nefarious purposes, for example, forming a surveillance society, aka Big Brother is watching you. I highly recommend you all to watch this documentary called Shadow Government. However, for those of you who are not Christians, I want to warn you that this is a Christian documentary. However, this doesn't mean there's nothing from this documentary you can. This doesn't mean that you can't benefit at all with the evidence and information this documentary provides. You can watch the entire documentary and just subtract the Christian elements of this documentary if you want. But again, I tell you, the documentary minus the Christian elements can still leave you with information that even an atheist will find useful. I will post a link from where you can purchase this documentary in the description section. I might even post a YouTube link to it as well. Moving further on, I also want to make it clear that the belief that feminism is not the problem but the symptom of an actual problem, which is the dark side of inherent female nature, is not mutually exclusive from the belief that there's also a conspiracy by the global elites to form a global Orwellian state. I repeat, the two are not mutually exclusive things. To you all who are watching, let me tell you, if you have watched all my videos, you would see that I touch upon the dark elements of inherent female nature more than I do on feminism. So yes, I know Briffault's law exists, I know that hypergamy exists, and I know that women essentially see men as human doings rather than human beings. I know that despite the fact that a man would objectify a woman for what she is, whereas a woman would objectify a man for what he can do for her, and plus probably also objectify him for what he is as well. But how does believing in all of this in any way is mutually exclusive from believing in the existence of a one world government conspiracy? It's not like you can believe one and you can't believe the other. The reason why I put out such a question is due to the fact that I have come across at least two men in the Manosphere who do seem mentally wired to think in such a way. And it shouldn't surprise me if there are many more gentlemen who do think in such a way. Now, I want you all to watch this clip of Aaron Russo where he's interviewed by Alex Jones. And Aaron Russo, he knew one of the Rockefeller family members by name and face, and the two were also friends. This individual was no other than Nick Rockefeller. Just to share a side note, there is a YouTuber who has made a video where he makes the claim that Nick Rockefeller is a fictitious character and that he does not exist. So before I show you the interview of Aaron Russo, I would like to show you a New York Times article Again, I repeat, it's a New York Times article, not a conspiracy quote-unquote theorist website. I'm going to start by reading the second paragraph. And I quote, Sirius Semesta Intern USA, a company controlled by the Suryat Jaya family of Indonesia, plans to sell the 500-room Melia Bali Hotel to Trentwith Holdings Ltd. for approximately $50 million. One of the informants said Trentwith is a joint venture 70% owned by Rockwest Development, a Rockefeller trust controlled by Nicholas Rockefeller, a Californian lawyer. Unquote. Yes, the dude exists. He is not a fictitious character. Now, for those of you who don't know who the Rockefellers are, they are one of the most top rich elite families in the world. Anyways, here's the clip from the interview of Aaron Russo I was talking about earlier. Do enjoy this interview.
Well, one of the things they told me was that he was at the house one night, and he would talk, and he started laughing. He said, Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? And I said, I had pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think it's about women having the right to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, you know? And he started to laugh. He said, you're an idiot. And I said, why am I an idiot? He said, let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib, you know? And we're the ones who got all over the newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation. He says, and you want to know why? He said, there were two primary reasons. And they were, one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before women's lib. And the second reason was, now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think. It breaks up the family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching them. And so those are the two primary reasons for women's lib, which I thought up to that point was a noble thing. You know, when I saw their intentions behind it, where they were coming from when they created it, the thought of it, I saw the evil behind what I thought was a noble adventure.
Aaron, did you know that Gloria Steinem, in one of her own books, now admits the CIA funded Miss Magazine?
No, I had no idea about that. No, I never heard that.
Yeah, we're going to...
CIA funded Miss Magazine?
Funded Miss Magazine with the stated goal of taxing women and breaking up the family.
No kidding. I never heard that. Well, Nick told me. I mean, I know it, but not because I know the CIA was involved in it.
Well, Gloria Steinem was proud of it. Oh, the CIA wanted to help me help women.
No kidding.
So they funded it, yeah. And of course, it's divide and conquer.
Right,
and
of course.
What they do is they focus in, obviously, on real problems. Women were getting shafted in many ways, but the elite wasn't planning to help them. They were planning to really shaft them and take men away from them. Look at what they did with black families. You only had about 10% illegitimacy 50 years ago in black communities, and now it's over 90%. And look at welfare. You were going to give you some money, but you can't have a man in the house.
Right.
And so that was further to degrade the family. Totally destroyed. And now illegitimacy is over 50% in the general population.
Right. Well, see, the whole thing is these people control the money, so they make all the rules. You understand? And they put whatever rules they want into effect. And the truth is, America has really become a socialist, communistic country. And everybody says it's a capitalistic country. It's not a capitalistic country. You know, how can it be capitalistic when you have a central bank? That's the first. It can't be. You know,
it's a planned economy.
It's a planned economy. It's a phony. If they want to create prosperity, they just print dollars. They just make dollars or put digits into the economy, and now you have prosperity. You don't have real prosperity. You don't have real manufacturing. You just have money being injected in. It's an infusion of credit,
which only makes the government go into more debt.
Into more debt. But the point I'm trying to make is that by creating this Federal Reserve System, the government now became dependent on these private banks for money. and they started taxing us. You see, and so now what happens is that in 35, I believe it was, Social Security started. And they gave Social Security cards, said not to be used for identification, the Social Security number right on the card, right? And through Social Security, they started deducting money out of your paycheck. That was the first time they were ever could take money out of your paycheck, because people agreed to it because they thought it was going to the retirement fund. And so then when they instituted the income tax again, they started taking money out of your paycheck because Social Security could do it. And then they could do it again. You see what I'm saying?
And so now they've even taken control of the tax payment itself. I mean, literally like you're a slave. They're
Right.
taking it right there when you make it.
Exactly.
They don't even trust the public enough to
Send them a check.
Yeah.
Right. So they take it out automatically because they know people aren't going to want to pay it. So what's happened is that through the implementation of the Federal Reserve System, the government has become vested in these bankers, and they get their money from the bankers. And so then they impose a tax on us, which makes us more slaves, makes it more difficult for us to survive, right? Giving them more profits. And now what's happened is that through the Federal Reserve System, the bankers have pretty much taken control of our government. It doesn't matter Republican and Democrat anymore, because they're both the same. Neither one of them are talking about shutting down the Federal Reserve System or stopping the payment of taxes, or any of the big issues that face Americans, right? So I had a friend, Nick Rockefeller, okay, who was one of the Rockefeller family, and he, when I was running for governor in Nevada, he came to me, introduced himself to me through an attorney, and we became friends. We started talking about things, and I learned an awful lot from Mr. Rockefeller. And one of the things that we used to talk about was the ultimate plan of the banking industry, what they wanted to accomplish. And the goals of the banking industry, not just the Federal Reserve System, but the private banks in Germany and England, all over Italy, all over the world, they all work together. They're all central banks, and they're all part of the Communist Manifesto. Central banking is one of the major planks of the Communist Manifesto. We talk about America being a capitalistic country, but yet at the same time we have a central bank that plans everything for us, right? And the graduated income tax is another plank of the Communist Manifesto, right? So right there you have two major planks of the Communist Manifesto that have been brought in because of the Federal Reserve System, okay? So the ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one-world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is given me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
Everything.
you sell.
Everything is in there, And so they want a one-world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people. And you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
David Rockefeller, the head of this elite family, in other words, the Rockefeller family, says the following in his book titled Memoirs, where he says on page 405, and you can see the cover of his book and a soft copy image of page 405 on the side. In this video on your screen. And if you want, you can also read the red underlined parts with me. Page 405 from David Rockefeller's memoirs, the red underlined parts, and I quote, "Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of competing with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure, one world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it." Unquote. I advise you all to watch this clip that I'm about to show you, where a former insider by the name of George Green, where he discusses the plans of these elites who are gradually forming world government. Here is the clip. Enjoy.
Manipulating all the dollars to put them out put more and more people into debt. So the illusion of equity they have in real estate is coming apart. The players that are analyzing everything are expecting massive foreclosures next year and the beginning of what we call the recession it's going to be worse than 29. It's your house that you're living in. You think you own it. You don't.
Right.
You have contractual right to transfer the airspace, subject to you paying taxes to the state.
Right.
Or the Global 2000 discussions that we had. The real problem that they have, as Kissinger says, is there are just too many people on the planet. And 40% of the world, 2 billion of us, exist on less than $2 a day. The summary of the Global 2000 report I put up on my website, nohoax.com, but if you look at it, it makes sense to get rid of people. So what they said, they're going to make godlike decisions on who lives and who dies. Now, obviously, some of the meetings we sat on, we were planning on using neutron bombs on the major cities, because that contains most of what they call...
You actually heard this?
I sat in on the meetings. I was in the game big time. In fact, I was making such a mess, they decided rather than kill me, which they could, they just invited me into the inner group and asked me to be the finance chairman. And at that point, I probably would have been in, Secretary of the Treasury or something, whatever they wanted to do with me. What I was doing prior to that, so, making it right, I would volunteer to become a president of a company, and I'd go in and liquidate it. And we'd get rid of the expendable containers. That was my job.
Expendable containers meaning human beings?
That's right.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's
well, that was
the inside
terminology.
vernacular, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what we used at that time. I mean, it went from there to useless eaters today, so you're happy with it, you're a human resource. So, which, all you are is part of the commodity, even in the business sense. You look at it, you have a cost. Labor, what is labor?
Yeah.
Human resource.
Right.
When you're going to put together some kind of product. Well, the inside of the game, when we started to use neutron bombs, today they figure that biologicals are much cheaper. Mm-hmm. They're still planning on, the plan is to get a war started in the Middle East. And they're still planning on using a neutron bomb, or one of the bombs that they've got developed on Israel. Mm-hmm. And that's to begin World War III, mm-hmm. which is all on the cards. And it's going to happen. They even put a monument up for this whole program. It's mm-hmm. called the Georgia Guidestones. Mm-hmm. Outside of Atlanta, know, and they've got it all set down there. It's all in 8 languages. Basically, it's fait accompli as far as they're concerned. It's just to get the thing going in the Middle East, and it's not going fast enough. I mean, Carter put this thing in, so we have the Plan 2000, with the war starting in the year 2000 in the Middle East.
Right.
Reduce the population of the planet down to 500 million, have one world currency under the Homeland Security, or FEMA if you want to call it. They're going to declare an emergency, which are going to shut down everything. My friends, my CIA associates, I don't even call them friends anymore. CIA is crooks in action.
Yeah.
They're all professional liars.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to be if they have that job.
Yeah.
So that you have to look at what they're doing. Anyway, they're so concerned, they're leaving the country too. Most of them are going to Latin America. Meanwhile, they're closing in every day right now, just closing in to make it so we're going to be set up in these enemy prisoner war camps.
Oh,
I published a book. It's called Chaos in America.
Mm-hmm.
In it, I was asked to build an enemy prisoner war camp. I put the contract in this book. So you can read it for yourself. This is in downtown Las Vegas, right on the railroad tracks. It says enemy prisoner war camp. They're all on top. And they're building them all the way across the United States right now. Bush signed an executive order taking the old forts and the army places that we shut down to get those organized to hold the so-called dissidents. Now, what's the definition of a dissident? And the problem is that we're going to enslave ourselves because most of the people want to keep having food coming in, and you're going to follow the line. You're just walking yourself into your own prison camp. Then we're going to come down to the extermination, just like World War II.
Right.
Well, Phil and I have lectured together. I know Phil Snyder. He's dead now.
Yeah, I know he's dead. And so what about what he was saying about the number of bases at that time? I think it was 129 bases before he died. Underground had already been built. Is that all for the elite?
Yeah.
Really?
What are they going to do with the rest of the people? They just get rid of them.
Really?
What are they going to do with the rest of the people? They just get rid of them, leave them above ground and be radiated. Now, my son happens to be a nuclear physicist.
Mm-hmm.
Spent the last 3.5 years in a secret city in Russia. They're about 12 years ahead of us. They have 22,000 nuclear warheads. And, of course, we're the target. The Soviets had 3 nuclear submarines on the west coast and 3 on the east coast. They're about 2 football fields in length, 5 stories tall, and they all are nuclear power and aimed at our major cities. West Coast gone. Well, because the plan is the northern hemisphere is where they're going to release the nuclear bombs, and the theory was that the winds from the North Pole that are coming down, because that's increasing drastically, will go to the equator, and there will be very little spillover because of the reverse of the winds, because of the southern hemisphere.
Okay.
So therefore, the nuclear radiation here will be a lot more than the southern hemisphere.
And this is a fait accompli, you believe?
Oh, they think so. Oh, yeah, they think they've won. That's the reason why they don't bother about me talking about it. They don't care whether you know or not. What are you going to do about it? And you have no idea what China is until you go over there for yourself. With 1,300,000,000. You understand? Almost, well, a little over 4 times our population.
Right.
It's, you know, I spent some time over there and I had some government friends. They think what they're going to do is let the West go have its fight. And then they want to clean up. They say it's been 5,000 years. We want to run the world when we get through. And what they're doing? Acquiring all the assets. They figure that Canada and the United States, the property there will, the food growing areas will be enough to take care of their people. And that's what they're looking at. Why are they? I mean, they bought
so
oil.
the U.S. will become a resource. Yeah.
Whatever's left of it.
Whatever's left of it. Yeah. You seem to be in a unique position to be able to put a fair amount of this together, which is quite interesting.
Well, I walk my talk. I played the game.
You played the game. You know one level of it.
And I know. I used, like I say, I used to play around with the world leaders, so I know what they're planning on doing.
What change of heart? What happened in you that made you decide to share this information that happens at the inside levels?
Well, it come back to a moral situation that happened to me, I think. When I flew to Aspen. I brought my 2 daughters up there so they could go skiing. And when I was invited to this meeting. When I walked into the room, the world leaders were there, and that's when they asked me to be the finance chairman. As they said, we'd like you to be the finance chairman for the next president of the United States. And the first thing I asked is, why me? And they said, well, we owe you a favor. Remember I told you I volunteered to be president of companies as I went down?
And then you liquidate, yeah.
I didn't charge them anything for it. It was just a game.
I see.
And anyway, that's what they said.
So I thought you'd be good on the team, yeah.
I'd be good. I'd be a team player. I just did it because it was, another one of these things. So next thing I asked them, I said, well, wait a minute. I just started this $100 million project. And they said, don't worry about it. We'll put it on ice. And I said, okay, who with? And I said, well, you can do that. Then I said the next thing was, who is going to be the next president? Now, this is 2 years before he became president.
Right.
And they said Jimmy Carter. And I said, Jimmy who? And they said, well, he's the Democratic governor of Georgia. And I said, I've been voting Republican. And Paul Volcker said, son, don't worry about it. We control them both.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I got the next question is, what does a finance chairman do? you know, I haven't been doing that. I've been playing all this other stuff. They said, will you sit down with Ted? And so I sat over with Ted Kennedy. He's sitting right next to me. And Ted and I are, you know, he's just joking. He says, George, you're going to love this job. You're really good with money. We're going to send you out to all the state Democratic functions to raise money for the National Democratic Party. And he said, you're going to meet some real foxy ladies. And just then, my daughter walked in. Ted looked at her and he says, wow, I want to go to bed with that. I says, no, you don't, Ted. That's my daughter, and she's 14. And his response to me was, I don't care. I was livid. I really didn't know what to do.
So it was that moment
Well,
of
wait a
that
minute.
personal insult.
That was part of it.
Yeah.
I got up and I walked across the room.
Yeah.
I then talked to Pierre Trudeau and his wife, who was the Prime Minister of Canada at that time. And I'm sitting in front of them was a little half cigar box full of white powder. And then I'm looking around the rest of the room. I said, my God, something hit me at that point. If the world leaders have to resort to this, I don't think I want to be part of this thing. I mean, even to the
Pretty dark.
even to the pollution and getting everything else they're talking about, getting rid of all the other people. I mean, I was raised in a packing house and slaughtering animals, and you get to the point where people are just animals at that level. And then I found out a little bit more about the details of the Plan 2000, of the annihilation of the entire planet. I said, I got to stop these people. There's something there. I mean, it's just, they got to be stopped.
Trust me, there are more sources of evidence for the existence of the one world government conspiracy than the ones I have shown you so far. One example is this 1,348 pages book called Tragedy and Hope, A History of the World in Our Time by Carroll Quigley. In this book you will find an introduction section written by Michael L. Chadwick, where in introducing Carroll Quigley's book, Michael has this to say, and I quote, "There really is a world system of financial control in private hands that is able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world. I call this system the World Trade Federation. It is an ultra-secret group of the most powerful men on Earth. They now control every major international institution, every major multinational and transnational corporation, both public and private, every major domestic and international banking institution, every central bank, every nation-state on Earth, the natural resources on every continent, and the people around the world through complicated interlocking networks that resemble giant spider webs. This group is comprised of the leading family dynasties of the Canada, United States, Britain, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, Russia, and China. The self-perpetuating group has developed an elaborate system of control that enables them to manipulate government leaders, consumers, and people throughout the world. They are in the last stages of developing a world empire that will rival the ancient Roman Empire. However, this new empire will rule the entire world, not just a goodly portion of it, as Rome did long ago," unquote. Now going 3 paragraphs down, and I quote, "The people in Eastern Europe suffered a similar fate as the armies of Hitler overran these countries, murdered, enslaved, robbed, and plundered the unique people who resided there for the last 2.5 centuries. Wealth and power have been concentrating in the hands of fewer and fewer men and women. This wealth is now being used to construct and maintain the world empire that is in the last stages of development. The world empire is partly visible and partly invisible today," unquote. I had a friend of mine who once asked me, Sheikh, if the elites were trying to make world government, then they could have done so after World War II, But what he failed to realize is, one, after World War II, the United Nations was formed, which can arguably be stated as a partly visible element of the world empire Michael L. Chadwick is talking about. And if not, then it can definitely, then forming the United Nations was definitely a significant stepping stone step towards forming a global government system. And if you look at the United Nations, it's in some ways a form of world government to one degree or another. But definitely it does, it is definitely a significant step towards it. Now, people may ask, well, why would the elites wanna? Why are they doing? Why would they want to do? Why didn't they, do the whole thing after World War II? Why are they taking slower steps? Well, I mean, it's like the proverbial frog. You slowly and or gradually heat the water. You don't heat it immediately. You do it in incremental steps. Slowly you heat the water, and boom, the proverbial frog is doomed. So, same analogy here. In fact, there's a Fabian socialist concept and where this idea is taught that if you do things in incremental steps, if you do things in more incremental steps, the more, in other words, according to this Fabian socialist concept, the more you do things in incremental steps, the less you're likely to get caught. And the same, and I hope that makes sense to all of you guys who are watching. I mean, it's not a difficult concept to grasp on why people would do things in slower steps as compared to doing things in more speedy steps. Again, proverbial frog, keep that in mind. And the Fabian socialist concept that basically teaches that if you do things if you do things in more incremental steps, the less likely you are to get caught. So that's from here I will continue on to Barbarossaa's next point, where he brings up the issue that there is a diabolical scheme to bring down America. I mean, not that he believes it. In fact, if anything, he doesn't buy the idea that there is a diabolical scheme to bring America down. He doesn't buy this idea. This is rich, and it really shows how much this dude needs to do his homework on the subject. My word of advice to Barbarossa and all of you MGTOWs and MRAs that don't believe that there is a diabolical scheme to bring America down, I honestly suggest you all to watch this documentary called Agenda Grinding America Down. I will post the link from where you can purchase this documentary in the description section. I might even post a YouTube link to the documentary as well. However, I'm going to leave a side note that the documentary does have Christian elements in it, but it is still a good documentary to profit from whether you are a Christian or not. Just do what I told you all to do with the shadow government. Do the same thing with this documentary as well. Just you can minus all the Christian elements, but still manage. And I mean, I'm not even going to say manage. I'm going to tell you guys that if you watch this documentary and even minus all the Christian elements, there is still significant amount of information and proof that you can benefit from. If not proof, at least evidence, to say the least. Another documentary I suggest you all Before I end this video, I want to go back to one of Barbarossaa's points, which is basically the idea that basically the fact that he does not buy this whole conspiracy against America. In other words, the conspiracy of bringing down America. He just doesn't buy it. Now, I addressed this, I mean, earlier in this video I addressed that point, but I want to, before ending this video, go back to it. And basically what I want to say is, for everyone to please watch this video. The link to this video will be in the description section. It is basically a video where Charolotte Iserbyt, who's the author of this book, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America, Rise in Abridged Edition, paperback by Charlotte Thompson Iserbyt. So this lady, Charolotte Iserbyt, is the author of this book. If anybody want to buy it, you can. I'll post a link of the book also in the description section. And yeah, please do watch this video. She basically goes over the U.S. educational system and how it has been structured to actually harm the education of Americans. So please do watch this documentary. It's a 1 hour and 15 minutes. It's totally worth it. Please do watch it. And for further research, I mean, I also advise you all to watch this video called The World Government NWO by a YouTuber up north of the 49th. And basically in this video, this YouTuber goes over a blueprint, an actual blueprint of world government. And this blueprint has been, this YouTuber has accessed it from this source called bereadetudes.org. And in this video, you see an introduction to this organization, Bereadetudes. The description is, and I quote, "The Paris-based artist Léonard Bonassini and Xavier Fort formed the artist duo Bereadetudes. For the last several years, the French group has been producing cartographies of contemporary political, social, and economic systems. The visual analysis of transnational capitalism is based on extensive research and usually is presented in the form of large-sized murals. Governing by networks, a chart produced in 2003 visualizes the mutual involvements and dependencies within the global media conglomerates, revealing what normally remains invisible and contextualizing apparently separate elements within a bigger whole. These visualizations of interests and cooperations re-symbolize the unseen and hidden." Now, if you want, you can pause the video and read it for yourself. It's in my video on your computer screen. And the YouTuber, and this is an actual blueprint that the YouTuber actually goes through in this video. And it's actually from this organization. Again, you see .org, so I mean it's an actual organization. Yeah, and over in the description, if you go to the description section of the video, yeah, you can access the blueprint on this link. When you go to the description section, scroll down to PDF sources, and that's where you'll find more than one version of this actual blueprint that has been made for world government. The design for world government is actually in these PDF files. And this video goes over this PDF file world government blueprint, and there's also the research version of this whole video, which you can find here on this link over here. It's by the same YouTuber, and it's called The World Government Blueprint. This is the research edition version of the same thing, this video. So this one is like 59 minutes and 18 seconds. This one is 1 hour and 35 minutes. I've actually spent time on both of these videos in the past, but I highly recommend that you at least see one of these two videos, and if possible for you to for you all to spend time on both of these videos. That's my recommendation to you all, and hopefully what I have presented is enough to at least create some level of curiosity regarding the subject of discussion in this video. So anyways, I am signing off.